Before going any further, just need to go over the parts of the game. Like most trading card games, or card games, to say, there are a few different cards. And this one is no different. Here we have the statistic cards. These cards come in the deck, but you don't actually play with them. These are, for all intents and purposes, character sheets. Like I said, each character is different, and that's reflected both in their beginning stats and equipment, as well as the cards in their deck. So take a look at RWBY's. Let's focus. There we go. So if we go to the top stat, Aura. This is basically your life. If this runs out, 0 or below, you lose the game. Next one is Spirit. That affects things such as blocking, as well as being used for a resource. We'll go over that more in depth later. If you cannot pay for Spirit, it says lose 5 Spirit and you only had 3, the rest would be taken from your Aura. Okay. So next we have Focus. That's your hand size. Then we have Flow. That's how many cards you can potentially draw each turn. Tenacity. That's quite standard across the board. That's how much Spirit you would get back at the end of the turn. Planning is how many cards you can discard to your strategy pile at the end of the turn. We'll go over that more in depth later. And at the end of every card, each character's got a special statistic. RWBY's is Bullets. This on its own does nothing, but some cards will allow you to expend bullets, or in the case of Weiss and Blake, Dust, to activate a special ability of that card. Once gone, that ability, that resource is gone. Okay, so use that wisely. These cards are easy to pick out of the deck because they have different backs to the rest of them. I'm just going to show you, obviously, these are from the RWBY deck, Weiss deck, Blake deck, and the Yang deck. There are two main types of cards in this game, and they're split into battle cards and non-battle cards. These are battle cards. You can always tell which card is a battle card because it'll have numbers in the corner. If it has no numbers, it's not a battle card. Okay. These numbers go from 1 to 5, and they dictate where they can be placed on the tick grid, which we'll be covering in the next section. These are the most common cards in the deck, so I'm taking one from each deck just to show you how they all look. Although the cards are not named, like in Magic you would have instant or sorcery, these don't have that, but they do follow a similar design on the back, so you can see the dual ones will have a silhouette of the character. These are what you call dual cards. And they're called dual cards because they can be played either way up. These are by far the most common cards in the deck. So, take it RWBY's, if I played it that way, it would become an attack, because you see these axes, that's the attack. I could also play it that way up, and then it would be a defense. The shield is the defense. We'll go over more about the interactions later. Just so you know, at the moment, these are the most common cards, and they can be played either way up, making them some of the most versatile cards in the game, if not the most powerful. Okay. And since they can be played either way up, that is why the backs of the cards are all mirrored, so you can't tell which way up your opponent has played the card. We'll get more into that later. Other types of battle cards are what we call dedicated battle cards. These, unlike the dual ones, can only be played one way round. So aren't as flexible. These are the dedicated, well, one dedicated attack from each deck. The bonus of these cards is they tend to be more powerful than the dual cards and offer a greater variety of effects. You'll be able to tell which ones these are because they have a picture of the character on, and the ability will be written in the weapon trail, and also it will have just the axes on. And of course, while we have dedicated attack cards, we also have dedicated defense cards. So you can always tell what these are because of the pictures, the eyes, and also because of the little shield icon indicating it's a defense card. And just like the dedicated battle ones, they tend to offer stronger defences in exchange for versatility. Now we'll get on to the non-battle cards. These are your tactic cards. They represent specific strategic plays you may be able to play in the game. Unlike most games, in this you don't have resources. There are no land cards in this deck or anything of the sort. You can play any card you want at any time as long as the conditions are met. We'll go a bit more about the conditions later, but they're usually written on the card here and often dictated by a little symbol in the corner as well. Although of course if it's missing one, like this card, there is no symbol conditions. This can potentially be played at more times. Here's my words. There's equipment cards. There's not many of these in the deck, as this is supposed to be a dueling card game, so you don't take a lot of equipment into battle, I'm assuming, for most characters. I'm not counting weapons. You're not going to be a weapon changer or anything like that, usually. So, bog standard one, for instance, reload. Every character has one of these. As I mentioned earlier, special resource for RWBY's got bullets. This card is the only way to get bullets back. Obviously the same for Blake and Weiss, but theirs replaces dust instead. These are the other equipment cards. We call these special equipment cards. So, like the ordinary equipment ones, they replace your bullets, but they also give you special abilities, which can be activated on certain cards, and that'll be dictated by the text. Although these tend to be quite powerful, they do limit your play as dictated on the card themselves, so make sure we take that into account before playing them. Next, we have semblance cards. These represent a special power of the characters and tend to be some of the most powerful cards in the game. Using these right can be key to winning or losing the game. There's one special resemblance card, and that is you can only attempt to play one per game turn. So even if you played one and it was countered, you cannot attempt to play another one. It also, of course, stops you from stacking the effects of several semblance cards. Finally, we have what we call shift cards. As you can see, these are actually battle cards because they have numbers in the corner. These are all value 1. These are special in that they don't have a shield or the axes, so it's neither an attack nor a defense. The whole purpose of these cards is to always give you something to play and to hopefully make your opponent waste cards. They do all also have an ability as well, which varies in strength per character. But these are special in that they do not count towards your maximum hand size. So say, I mentioned earlier, Ruby's focus is 8, so she would have 8 cards in her hand, plus the shift card. Everyone starts with a shift card in their hand. At the end of a phase, if the shift card is not in your hand, even if it was removed from the game, it is returned to your hand. If someone will cause you to discard a card, your shift card can never be discarded. It's taken out of that equation. So say if someone forces you to choose to discard a card, you cannot choose the shift card. If they got to choose, they cannot choose the shift card. If it is random, you would take it out of your hand first, so it's not chosen at all, can't be chosen at all. Okay, that's the basic card types. So now we're getting more into the phases and actually playing cards.